This is the download from Sounds Profitable, the most important news from this week and why it matters to people in the business of podcasting. I'm Manuela Bedoya.
And I'm Shreya Sharma.
The download is brought to you by Magellan AI. Track the trends in spend, ad load, podcasts on YouTube, and more with Magellan AI's advertising benchmark report for Q2. Available now. You can find a link in the description or visit magellan.ai.
This week, new study shows podcast audiences skip radio ads, Spotify's Q2 earnings call happened, and the fate of actor-hosted TV rewatch podcasts during the Hollywood strike. Let's get started.
New research from Pacific Content and Signal Hill Insights suggests repurposing ads created for AM/FM radio for podcasting has some downsides. A quote from head of Pacific Content, Matt Mize, in the blog posted this Thursday. Quote, as more brands enter the podcast ad market and take advantage of the reach potential through programmatic or network buys, we've seen and heard an increase in repurposing audio ads from radio or streaming music. While this is certainly cost-effective, it may not be audience-effective. Radio ads are designed to grab attention from distracted audiences. Podcast listeners are already deeply engaged. They don't need to be shouted at. You already have their attention. These two different mediums require two different creative approaches. We felt so certain about this, we decided to put our hypothesis to the test. End quote. The study surveyed 247 Canadians 18 and over who listen to podcasts at least once a month. Even with a relatively small sample size, the strength of respondents' answers indicate adamant feelings about podcast ads. 49% of respondents strongly agreed they would skip a radio-style ad if it appeared in their favorite podcast, with a further 29% moderately agreeing. Mize cites the Sounds Profitable and Signal Hill Insights study, The Medium Moves the Message, which found podcasting already reaches nearly as many listeners aged 18 to 34 as radio and TV. Podcast listeners skew younger than traditional broadcast entertainment and have grown up with plenty of choice in their media. If ads are to avoid the 30-second skip button, they have to take the more relaxed, intimate nature of podcasting into account and build ad creative specifically for podcasts. As the Pacific Content blog asks, would you run a broadcast TV spot on TikTok unchanged?
Spotify's Q2 earnings call was this week, and the streamer has hit some high notes. From The Verge's coverage from John Porter on Monday, and I quote, Spotify had 220 million premium subscribers and 551 million monthly active users as of June 30th, the company announced today in its latest earnings report. That represents a 27% and 17% increase, respectively, compared to the same period last year and is above its outlook released last quarter, end quote. In addition to the premium subscriber increase, HotPod reports Spotify's podcast ad revenue is up 30% from last year. According to the latest share of year report for Q1 2023, Spotify dipped from 21.6% share of ear for spoken word content to 20.2%. As Tyler Aquilina highlights in coverage for Variety, podcasting overall continues to trend upward. That said, it's possible that Spotify has reached a share of ear plateau. All of this seems to further reinforce Spotify's decision to pivot from acquiring big-name personalities to host exclusive Spotify content, reframing their focus more on being an advertising destination and maintaining already successful podcasts they currently own.
New from Amrita Khalid on The Verge and HotPod, the growing trend of TV rewatch podcasts hosted by actors who appeared on the shows has caused confusion and delays while waiting for union leadership in regards to the SAG-AFTRA strike. As reported on the 21st, several celebrity-hosted rewatch podcasts either withheld episodes or changed their content so as not to promote struck content. A key issue raised by both the original WGA strike and SAG actors joining in solidarity is that of compensation for old content on streaming platforms, meaning even shows like Drama Queens, which discusses the long-concluded One Tree Hill, are technically promoting struck content. In the case of Drama Queens, the hosts switch from discussing the series to answering audience questions. Both an upcoming Emily Deschanel-hosted Bones Rewatch podcast and a new show covering Full House, hosted by lead Dave Coulier, delayed their first episodes due to the strike. On Wednesday, SAG leadership clarified its position. A quote from Sue-Ann Morrow, SAG-AFTRA's National Director of Contract Initiatives and Podcasts, quote, "Rewatch podcasts are considered promotional. Hosts should honor any pre-existing contracts, but if a contract is not involved, they should not promote struck work, past or current. Guests appearing on podcasts should not promote struck work under any circumstances." End quote. The delayed Bones and Full House podcasts are now free to upload, but Hot Pod predicts these will be the last Rewatch debuts for the duration of the strike.
Finally, it's time for our semi-regular roundup of articles we're calling Quick Hits. These are articles that didn't quite make the cut for today's episode, but are still worth including in your weekend reading. This week, Only Be Kind by Tom Webster. This week, Tom writes about the legacy of Frank Cody and a life philosophy he brought to radio that podcasting would do well to implement. Only be kind. NewsGuard launches made-for-advertising service in response to an ANA study by Joe Mandese. To combat the rising issue of made-for-advertising sites siphoning programmatic ads, NewsGuard has introduced the ability to create whitelists of non-MFA sites and blacklists to exclude known MFA content. Audio Amplified, Harnessing the Power of Branded Podcasts. The new white paper from Quill focuses on the utility of branded podcasts as high-value content that resonates with audiences, establishes trust, and positions creators as industry leaders. Veritonic and Acast partnered to highlight what success sounds like around the world for podcast ads bought programmatically. New research from the two companies compares and contrasts of audio creatives from programmatic campaigns around the world.
And that was The Download, brought to you by Sounds Profitable. Today's episode was built using Spooler and hosted on Art19. Find out more at spooler.fm and art19.com. I know we went through today's stories fast, so be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned, right in your podcast listening app or on soundsprofitable.com/podcast. And thank you for sticking with us as we bring you the top stories you might have missed from the past week. I'm Manuela Bedoya.
And I'm Shreya Sharma. Our producers are Brian Barletta, Gavin Gaddis, and Tom Webster. Special thanks to Art19 for hosting The Download. And as always, thank you to you for joining us. Robot?
Download complete.